You're not crazy. Sometimes people like the idea of you more than the reality of you. When you're in different situations where you're just struggling to exist, you're around people, places, and things that don't have anything good to say to you. You're around people, places, and things that roll their eyes when you walk through the door. You're around people, places, and things that suck their teeth or get mad when you have an opinion or have a question. You're in relatively unwelcoming spaces, but stifling spaces. These are spaces and places that are, for whatever reason, hindering you from taking a step forward. If you find yourself in that place, it's not necessarily you. It takes two to tango. Some of what you're going through isn't necessarily your fault. You might just be being gaslit. You're not crazy. I don't want to say people have been lying to you or things have been lying to you, but you just haven't had the opportunity to interpret reality with a certain level of clarity. So give yourself some grace from that perspective.
Hello, Kenneth. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Hey, Elisha, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Beautiful, my man. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you, man. And you see, Kenneth, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, my man, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, Kenneth, you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. See, my man, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Kenneth, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the
Mm,
leaves were all dry. So I
yeah.
just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, my man, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes, Kenneth. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day, and I was so excited.
You
Here is
got
my point. I tell you, man, the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Kenneth that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions, Kenneth. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, my man, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things that Kenneth is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to be selfish, and even with the audience. And here we had a day with the amazing Kenneth. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
That's wonderful. You have a way with words.
Thank you, man. So let's get started. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today, Kenneth, for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Kenneth, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness, ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Kenneth on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Kenneth, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or the professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Kenneth got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Kenneth, my man, over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, so my origin story, if you will. So I'm from the United States. I was born in New Jersey. There's where I, grew up, spent a lot of time with family and friends, went to school there. I went to school in state and I got my bachelor's and master's in psychology. And then right after all of my educating and stuff, I went into the workforce. I was working through that time, but working while you're in school is different from when you're, out in the real world. You gotta pay bills and do the whole thing. But like that, I went to school for psych, went out into the professional world, was doing a few different things, mostly around sales. From there, I transitioned into tech, and that was really kind of like just a geography thing because I had left the United States and went to Texas. And at the time, technology was a growing industry there. But between doing all of that stuff, I also was using my knowledge and deploying the information that I learned through life and through my professional training. So through my education and through just lived experience, I was taking all that information and I started writing and I just started sharing my thoughts and putting my ideas to paper. The reason why I started doing that, and this was around 2019, so around right as I got out of college, I started writing. The reason why I started doing that was because I felt, I just felt I was in a place in my life where I just have had things to say, but I didn't have people, not even that I didn't have people who were willing to listen because I didn't care about that as much, but I didn't have a safe space to communicate and say what I wanted to say. And so through my lived experiences, I learned that I could write. Like that was something that was brought to my attention. Like, hey, if you want to, you can write. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so eventually that's what I did. And it was really liberating for me just to like get these thoughts out of me in a productive way. I know maybe a lot of people journal and I encourage journaling. Journaling is good as a nice way to reflect on your own thoughts. That wasn't what I was looking for. When I started writing, because journaling is good and I journal as well, but when I started writing, I was looking to say, these are my thoughts. I want to write my thoughts down, put them out in the world. And if people acknowledge them, great. And if they don't, that's fine. But you're not going to stifle my voice. My coming into who I am now, that it was a bit of a rebellion against who I was. And we can elaborate on that more as the conversation goes on, but that has transitioned and come with me through the last several years now and has resulted in my book, Get Your Mind Right, my brand, Life with Ken, that I've been working on and building for a few years now. And just that has me identifying that I want, not even necessarily want more, but want to be able to be myself and express myself how I want to be and express. That desire birthed this and where I am now. And so that's just been a journey of learning. So again, professional education and then experience, and then those two worlds colliding through and with me as the conduit. And here we
Amazing, man. And that's a beautiful one. And I got that. And that's your fantastic book. I think we're going to start from there. So,
okay.
can you talk to us more on the inspiration behind your book? And how did you come about the title? How did you form the title?
Okay. So with this book, how it came about was I was in this same period of time that I was just talking about, that phase of wanting to communicate, but not feeling like I had the safe space to do so. I'm in that same period of time. And this is when the book is beginning to formulate. And this is before I knew I wanted to write a book. This is just what the book ends up being about. It's these circumstances that I'm going through at that time. And for me, Get Your Mind Right was a sermon first. I had heard a sermon on the concepts, and that sermon on the concept literally changed my mind and changed my life. And I don't remember the whole sermon, but I remember the crux or the point of just like, I don't know how I'm a Christian, so I use like biblical references sometimes. And so in the Bible, when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, when God came and confronted them because they were hiding, because they were naked, God asked
Yeah.
them, who told you you were naked? And so I had that same type of revelation with a sermon that said, like, who told you you're defeated? Who told you that you can't accomplish certain things? Who told you that your voice is invaluable? So on and so forth. Like, that was the revelation that I had. And that's where I was like, wow, get your freaking mind right. And so that's how it connected for me so seriously. And so I had to live out more of the book before it was complete. But like, that was the catalyst, if you will.
Amazing. I tell you. And you just opened my eyes to something beautiful. Wow. I got that, man. I got that. So let's talk about mental wellness. So what is a common misconception about mental wellness?
A common misconception? Well, all right. So I think that mental wellness and mental health has come a long way since even when I started studying it, because even when I started studying psychology, and I'm not particularly old, but when I started studying it just 15, 20 years ago, well, not 20 years ago, but 10 some odd years ago when I started studying it, that was a concern for individuals of like, can I speak to somebody? How can I communicate with individuals? Like, are my feelings valid? Like, is what I'm going through worth being concerned about? Like, people had difficulties facing their own feelings and emotions. And I think that the good thing is people are more open and are being more open to communicating and dealing with their internals a little bit more. That said, I do think that sometimes the talk, not like, I think it's so weird that you have to balance awareness, because I feel like the awareness can almost water it down sometimes, particularly depending on who the messenger is, because like mental health, mindset, personal professional development, like those type of words, those are weasel words. Those are just phrases that, people understand, and they're loaded. People they project onto those phrases sometimes. And so people can use what could be technical terms or terms that require additional definition in a way that they think that they're being inclusive and they think that they're being intelligent and intentional about. And certainly they probably don't mean any harm by what they're doing. But it is a blessing as someone who is a professional in the space, put loosely, but I am a professional in the space. It's a blessing from that perspective to see the importance of having professionals in various spaces and places. Like, the retail work has to be done, but it's also nice to know that there are people who are studying the craft and are honing the craft and advancing the craft as a whole. So I think like that's the misconception, that it's more casual than it is. I'm glad that it's casual, and I'm glad that we're able to have a casual conversation about mental health and psychology and personal and professional development and mental wellness. But let's also respect the fact that this is a field of practice, that people dedicate their lives to being skilled at delivering change for people in this realm of life. And so I don't think that part's being diminished, but I think that sometimes people may not consider going to see a proper therapist or going to get a correct diagnosis. And also, I understand that there's barriers to that as well in terms of being able to afford it. And sometimes we don't platform it right or properly with respect to being of importance when people think about their health. So I can empathize with that as well. But if you can see a professional, go see a professional. And shout out to those online resources and different type of things that are available. But like, there are individuals who are trained and licensed to do some of the work that people casually talk about in certain spaces.
I got that. I got that. So we have two more to go. So what is one daily habit that helps one protect one's mental health?
I mean, it sounds corny, but gratefulness. Just waking up every day and being grateful. That's like the first and easiest thing that you can do to protect your mental health and protect your frame of mind. Simply because like you're setting the precedent. A lot of our mindset and moods are choices. Like something happens, there's an outside stimuli that occurs, and based on that outside stimuli, we respond to it, and we respond to it with the resources that we internally have. Like we respond to it with our level of knowledge. And so sometimes you can do a preemptive strike, if you will, by choosing to be happy, choosing to be joyous, choosing to be grateful, choosing to be humble and operate in humility, choosing to be empathetic and consider other people's conditions and just be willing to identify with people that may not have your same background, but they do have two eyes, two legs, two hands, or whatever the situation. They're humans. How can you identify with humans from that perspective? I think if you can start out from that place, whatever comes at you, even if it does get to you, it has to erode away from all that positivity and encouragement that you've ginned up at the beginning, as opposed to just starting out your day, not setting a tone for yourself, and then dealing with things as they come, which is sometimes what you have to do. But you might be more open to be more fluctuating in your emotions. One of the goals that people should consider is a level of homeostasis or a level of like equilibrium in their physiology. Like you shouldn't be erratic, if you will, in your behaviors. And so think about that. What can you do to keep yourself calm and effective? And when you consider what can I do to do that, I think that will help you when you're in certain situations that may want to diminish you. So just go leading with the positivity to block off any negativity that may come your way.
I got that. What can I do to keep myself calm and effective? And also to protect your mental health, you have to be grateful. Choose to be grateful. Gratitude all the time. I got that, my man. And that's a beautiful one. So finally, Ken, what is the next big thing for your wonderful brand? Is it Life with Ken?
Yes, that is the name of the brand. Right now, my main focus that I've been driving is just continuing to develop brand awareness, continue to make sure that I'm supporting what I'm doing the best that I can. I want to roll out a few more media options. So I do articles. I have a newsletter. I shoot some videos as well. I want to maybe do a show or some sort. But yeah, I just want to continue to create high quality content and scale that process so I can reach as many people as possible.
Beautiful, my man, and that's really a great word. So to bring this to an end, Kenneth, what would you like to leave the audience with? Like a final thought. And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, or make a purchase of your wonderful book, how can that be possible?
Yeah, my go-to takeaway that I like to give people is that you're not crazy. For me, one of the struggles that I had through developing and writing the book and then up until the point the book released was just connecting with myself in a way that was real and authentic. And I struggled with connecting with myself because there were people, places, and things, I was in a certain context that didn't allow me to resonate with myself for one reason or another. Sometimes people like the idea of you more than the reality of you. And so when you're in different situations where you're just struggling to exist, sometimes what happens, and when I say struggling to exist, you're around people, places, and things that don't have anything good to say to you. You're around people, places, and things that roll their eyes when you walk through the door. You're around people, places, and things that suck their teeth or get mad when you have an opinion or have a question. You're in relatively unwelcoming spaces, not abusive or rude or mean or anything like that, but stifling spaces. These are spaces and places that are, for whatever reason, hindering you from taking a step forward. If you find yourself in that place, it's not necessarily you. I don't want you to remove or think that you don't have any type of self agency or self responsibility for some of the things that you may go through, but it takes two to tango. So some of what you're going through isn't necessarily your fault. You might just be being gaslit. You're not crazy. I don't want to say people have been lying to you or things have been lying to you, but you just haven't had the opportunity to interpret reality with a certain level of clarity. So give yourself some grace from that perspective. My book, Get Your Mind Right, talks about what I just talked about there, and then also challenges individuals who aren't necessarily in that space but are in a more whole space, challenges those individuals to consider, how are you giving back? How are you reaching behind you and bringing someone up with you? How is your success leaving trails? How are you creating a legacy for yourself and perpetuating your impact further? So these are just some things that you should consider as you try to navigate your life. We're all out here trying to figure this thing out. But the last thing you should have to go through is additional stress and additional discomfort that is placed on you for no real good reason that makes you feel out of place. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are more powerful than you can even imagine. You have been divinely imbued with talents, gifts, and abilities. And so for you not to live in the fullness of that is an indictment on everything that's been given to you. Don't hide away what needs to be displayed, not activate and nurture a gift. You want to build up your gifts, build up your talents, and give them to the world because they were given to you so you can give them to the world, because only you can develop and put your gift out in the way that it was given to you. Someone else may have a similar desire, a similar gift, or a similar talent, but they can't do it the way you're going to do it. So lean into your uniqueness and what makes you special, because that's what you're here for. And you can find my book, Get Your Mind Right, on my website, Life with Ken, which is also my lifestyle brand where I help people live more confidently. You can also get the book anywhere you buy your books, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, whatever store works for you. It's available. And yeah, connect with me on Life with Ken. I have articles, my weekly newsletter, courses, and different other resources there, as well as you can find my socials and you can connect with me in that way as well.
That's so beautiful, my man, and I got that. Don't hide away what you were given to display. That's profound. I'm going to clap for you, my man. So that's going to be
Thanks.
the end of the show, Kenneth. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thanks, my man.